risk as it relates to safeguarding personal information, whether it's in an IT system or paper-based. And one of the major objectives that I have is ensuring that when we do have an incident, there's communication. I want to make it clear that it's okay to call me if an incident occurred and they're trying to figure out which side of the fence they're on. And I'll give you an example, concrete example, where I received a call a while back. Employees on travel lost a mobile IT asset with memory capability. There was a belief that the only information in terms of personal information was names of employees. Names of employees. That's publicly, legally available. But after we started talking about the circumstances surrounding the incident and talking about people had dealt with the mobile IT assets in the past, we learned that there was an actual list of names, but the title for the list was employees infected with, and you fill in the blank. We have defense programs, radioactivity material around. So personal information, when you're looking at a loss, you got to look at that context. For somebody to say we lost the laptop, we lost a piece of paper, all it contained was names, you have to look at the other elements. Not only we're concerned about preventing identity theft, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to prevent, but it's also issues of confidentiality, ensuring that employees are not embarrassed whether the information is good or not. So again, we made a lot of progress in communicating between my office and the various program offices, and there's a understanding that these breaches, regardless of the nature, should be reported, and then we monitor the facts and circumstances and work hard to mitigate those risks in the future.
I might add one low-tech thing. You know, we're all technology types. We love it. FDIC used to be the biggest user of a place called Iron Mountain, paper storage and disks. The only real loss that FDIC knows that it had, and hear how I say that, knows that it had, was a paper-based loss of an HR list, kind of what Jerry's talking about. So here we're all into technology and the like, but sometimes it's the least simplest divider. Printing out reports. We have a list of banks that are at risk. If that report got out 2 weeks early, the stock would go down. It's not privacy per se, but a lot of times it's the paper, the least common denominator, that's the biggest issue for us in the privacy area.
Yes, can I address that also?
Yeah, please.
Just to address risk slightly differently and to highlight how I think CPOs and CIOs work together but possibly think about things differently. So when a business owner comes up with an idea or a proposal, be it an online survey or a complaint form or a new database, I often find that the CIO or CISO says, okay, let's implement it and let's figure out how to lock it down. I don't start from that point. My first question to the business owner is why? I want to know why you want to do this procurement and why you want to set up this database or do this online survey this way. And then I want to look at the data elements that you're putting in this online survey or collecting. And I want to ask about each data element why. In your online survey, why are you asking for social security number if you don't need it? Do you really need gender and date of birth? And I want to ask up front not only why, but how long do you intend to keep it? So I want to talk about retention schedules up front. And I want to talk about how you intend to use it. So it's not just, yes, we can build it, and the CISO says, yes, I can secure it, but I want answers to those questions up front before we go down the road of the acquisition, the procurement, or building this massive database. I want to reduce the amount of data to the extent possible to allow us to do our jobs, but to address those questions up front.
And it sounds like we talked about this earlier, but that's where you can engage the business side, right? I mean, these are all decisions that really you go to the business user and get those kind of feedback from.
Yeah, I mean, this is the process, and this actually gets into some of the required things that we do, some of the privacy impact assessment processes and things like that. This is a group discussion in the sense that it is the CIO and the CISO and the chief privacy officer, and of course, the business owner, the person driving what they want. But those questions that Mark was just honing in on, the why, what do you want it for? What's the purpose? If I get an answer along the lines of, well, I haven't really thought about it, then, my answer to that is, well, then you're not ready.
Right.
Because you actually have to be able to articulate why you're going to be using that data. And, well, we want to use it for this, and we want to be able to do this, 2 years down the road. It's, sort of, okay, let's break some things apart. Does everything make sense? Does that make sense for whose data you're collecting, how you're going to be using it? And, that's a slightly different perspective than the, yes, I can build it, yes, I can lock it down. It doesn't mean that they don't fit hand in glove sometimes. It just means that you're looking at it from slightly different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jonathan, keeping with you, you do have an audience here full of technologists. So I was kind of wondering if you could kind of ask or let us know what can the technology community do to help you as a chief privacy officer, and ultimately, how can you help them? Okay.
Well, let me start, with what I think some of the technology folks can help us with as chief privacy officers. I have a colleague of mine who's at a different agency, and she often says, technologists don't speak privacy. Privacy, doesn't speak technology, or geek as she calls it, because she's a privacy person like me. But her other piece of that is, but everybody speaks English. The key for us is to definitely have a dialogue. So, I try to be open and candid. In my experience, most folks that I've worked with on the technology side have tried to be open and candid so that, we can make logical, risk-based decisions. It's important that, you don't look at your chief privacy officer like an adversary or someone who's there to gum things up. Just like you, we're generally driven at, trying to improve, trying to help the enterprise make the best type of decision. So always, trust us, work with us, seek us out. We seek you out. We want to work together. Specifically, there's a lot of discussion in the privacy world always about privacy enhancing technology and privacy by design and things like that. And, help us more with technology choices. It's very, very rare that you find someone in the privacy community who's truly a technology expert. So help us with design choices, and that's why that communication is so important. Help us help the business customer who's engaged all of us to make a wiser design choice, so that we can actually truly enhance privacy, as well as address the security and efficiency concerns. We want that too. We're very, very focused on efficiency. We want to help our customers make the right decision too. We want the same sorts of tools and standards that everybody does, so that we can make, we can focus on, really minute problems as opposed to like always going through this, incredibly complex. We're looking for those standards so that they can be built into some sort of automated life cycle as well. So, be our partner in that. And that's an area where I think that we struggle in the privacy community. We're very lawyer heavy, people who came out of policy analysis. And of course, help us work through this. Jerry mentioned it earlier. It's called privacy by design. It's often called that, but as opposed to coming at something at the very end and assessing it on the last day and saying, oh, well, yeah, this doesn't do such a great job. How are we going to mitigate that risk? Let's put this add-on on. It's more having that discussion on day one and thinking about how you're going to build privacy in. And it's a great idea. It sounds really great. And everybody in the privacy community is really excited about it. Help us get there, because we know that while we can't talk about how to design a system, we don't know the details per se of how they work, you guys do, and we want to get there with you, because we think that it'll help everybody, because this is where we intersect a lot, because we're all targeted at helping our agencies perform, minimizing risks to our business customers, things like that. So that's definitely an area where I think you guys can help us.
Wonderful. Anyone else want to add to that? Harry, I think Harry, we have a question.
Hi. I work for the Weather Service, which is actually somewhere down in Congress. The way we handle privacy is probably in an area that you guys don't normally consider. Sort of the Heisenberg effect. When PII first started hitting everyone's consciousness level several years ago, the solution we took